Mr. Dawson, it's becoming clear that she's holding herself back in the classroom. It's as if she's literally afraid to learn. No one doubts that you love your daughter.
Oh, yeah.
But the Department of Child and Family Services contacted us.
Yeah.
They shared with us that your records show that your intellectual capacity is around that of a 7-year-old. Our concern is what happens when Lucy turns 8.
Mr. Dawson, do you understand what Miss Wright is trying to tell you about Lucy?
Yeah.
They perched in silence. How can we be so diff? I don't know that word.
Yes, you do, because that's a word that starts with a D.
I'm tired.
I don't believe you.
Are you calling me a liar?
Yes, I think you have to read the word.
No.
Yeah, you have to read that word.
No.
Yeah, here it is, because there's a picture where they're all perched. Now read the word. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I won't read the word.
I'm your father, and I'm telling you to read the word. Because I can't tell you to because I'm your father.
I'm stupid.
You are not stupid.
Yes, I am.
No, you are not stupid because you can read that word.
I don't want to read it if you can't.
No, because it makes me happy. It makes me happy hearing you read. Yeah, it makes me happy when you're reading.
They perched in silence for a long time. How can we be so different and feel so much alike, New Splitter? How can we feel so different and be so much alike, wondered Pip. I think this is quite a mystery.
Keep going.
Welcome to the 42 Podcast, where we discuss life together, looking for answers to life, the universe, and, well, everything else. Here are your hosts, Rob and Lindsay.
Good morning, Lindsay.
Hi, Rob. How are ya?
Good. I have missed you. It's good to be back.
Yes, I did miss you a little last Saturday.
A little. Oh. I was out of my routine. I didn't know what to do with my Saturday.
Yeah, what did you do on your Saturday?
Paperwork.
Yeah.
So, it's now officially season 2, and Lindsay.
Hmm?
Lindsay.
Yeah.
Guess what? Lindsay, guess what?
What?
I bought a house.
Yay! You bought a house! Congratulations! I know, because I texted you earlier in the week, and you're like, so I was like, okay, I'll get back to you.
You texted me on Tuesday, and Tuesday was the closing day. For context, this has been a stressor in my life and Melinda's life since May, because May was when the landlord was like, hey, I want to sell the house. So that started this whole journey. Do we want to buy this house? Do we want to look at other houses? You know, by end of July, it was, okay, we're going to buy this house. Let's get the finance in order. Let's get the loan stuff in order. It has been a journey getting to the point where we signed that paperwork. And Tuesday, I was a mess. I got a call from the title company, and I was in like near panic mode that something had gone wrong or was going wrong, and it was one little thing that was still on the what's the giant thing I have to mortgage. There it was. On all the mortgage paperwork, there was one little blip that was still on there that I had opted out of, and it was the pest control inspection. In my head, I'm going, well, crap, that's it. The whole thing's off because pest control inspection. And that's like right when you texted me, I'm like, 7 months of work for... So everything was good. It was just one little blip that got left on, but the emotional state I was in. And, thank God for the graciousness of my pastor at work. She's an amazing woman, and just was like, take a deep breath. You're going to be okay. It's a one little thing. Yeah, you texted me right at the height of that. I didn't even want to text Melinda that this was going on, because I know what stress level she and I have been on, and it's just, okay, if I can get this worked out, and then I'll tell her, like, before we sign paperwork, oh, look, it's so funny. But we bought a house.
Did you do anything to celebrate after? Is that why you're so late today?
Partially. There's a wall that's downstairs that we weren't allowed to, like, touch or paint or think about. So the landlord painted this wall when she lived here, and she really liked how she painted this wall. So we haven't been allowed to touch it. After we signed the paperwork, we went shopping for paint.
Nice. That's awesome.
We got paint samples, and Melinda has been painting squares of, what's this sample look like? What's that sample look like?
Cool.
Now multiple walls in the house, going, okay, I think I like it. And we've got a little voting board up on the refrigerator for which colors and where, and
That's so nice. Good for Melinda.
We painted paint samples, and we changed out doorknobs, and we did one upgrade to our home security that Melinda has been wanting. So,
nice.
Yes, we're doing things that are ours and make it ours, and we're, writing out the list, the time schedules, because we want to renovate the whole place. We want to do new floors, paint walls, da-da-da-da-da-da. So,
cool.
Yes.
Are you going to get to revise your studio at all, or do anything to your studio?
Yes.
Yeah, good.
Yes. Now yes, we're going to actually enclose my space at some point, but that's bottom of the list because it's a little more complicated because I'm in the basement. Like with Hurricane Ida, we did get about an inch of water in the basement.
Mm.
We have a sump pump and all that fun stuff, but we gotta do things to kind of sure up what is the flooding resistance down here. I don't know what to call that, but yes.
Cool.
So there's plans for that, and Melinda wants to do, and I think it's awesome, and I'm fully behind this. She wants to get a stoplight that we can mount upstairs in the living room.
Like a sex
she
light?
wants to put this in the...
Like, don't come in Mommy and Daddy's room when the stoplight is on.
Oh my gosh.
On air. Recording.
It's not a sex light, but it will be the, green, you can disturb Daddy, yellow will be, be careful, and red will be, I'm recording. But, there are times when I'm down here in the evening because I'm on a Zoom meeting with work, or yelling at the printer, or stuff like that. So she wants to do that, and I think it's awesome. I just like the look of it because Mr. Rogers.
Yes. Aren't stoplights really, though, like 3 feet tall? They just look small because they're hanging high. I think they're pretty big.
Yeah, they are. But there are ones you can get for in your house that aren't as big, things like that. So, and that's, again, down the road, because, the renovations we want to do, part of it is also dependent on Mel finishing her education and getting a job, because that adds some additional resources.
Yeah.
So everything's in stages. But
So I also have cool studio news. So this winter, Colby's going to start working on a master bedroom for us so the kids can have our current master bedroom. There's like lots of shuffling going on. But end of the line story here is that he's going to build me a studio.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so nice and small. And I think I'm going to get like those cool egg carton type things for the walls. Like those cool triangle things.
Yeah.
Cones. Yeah, it's going to be fun. And he's going to insulate it and everything so it'll sound really good in there.
That's
I'm excited.
awesome.
Yeah.
So you're going to have better sound than I do in a bit.
I'm not competitive at all.
I'd never seen that side of you. But no, that's excellent.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I'm very, very excited.
But we're not talking about home stuff today.
No, we are not.
I had a good preface. Preface? Yeah, okay. To set this up with.
Did you? Okay, go for it. I love how you get to places, so go ahead, amaze me.
Well, okay, yeah. Do you have Disney Plus?
We do.
Yesterday was Disney Plus Day.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Because there's tons of stuff out now. Or
Yeah. Did that feel like a little weird where like Disney's like, hey, it's Disney Plus Day?
oh yeah, yeah. It's like, who says today's Lindsay Day? Because I said so. Yeah.
Right, and I definitely felt that, where it's like, are you trying to make a holiday of the fact that you've existed for 2 years?
Is it their anniversary? Like their birthday, kind of? Oh, okay.
So Disney Plus has been streaming for 2 years now.
Yeah. They're coming out with
Which-
so many shows now, like tons of stuff, and it almost feels like quantity, but quality. Although Big Hero 6, I liked Big Hero 6. I'm excited for Big Hero 6 show. And it looks like good quality too.
I have not mentioned that to my wife and son yet. They're big Hero 6 fans, so when we went to Disney in, I think it was 2016,
Mhm.
Ray being able to walk up and see Baymax at Disney and hug him, he was just, mind melting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yes, they'll be excited for that. And there are a lot of good things coming out for Disney Plus. I showed it to my youth group. Did you see the Buzz Lightyear trailer?
No. Is it like a
didn't
live
see
action
that?
one where he has a different chin and he is not a cartoon?
Oh, no. Hold on.
That might have been a
Okay.
meme.
I'm going to put the link for this in, if you have not seen this yet, I'm going to put the link for it in the description. You need to watch the Buzz Lightyear trailer. So
Okay.
give me a second.
5 minutes later.
I don't like that. I mean, it looks really good, but then what about canon?
Ah,
Where does it fit into
what do you mean, what about canon?
Okay, so if this isn't actually the toy that we know, Buzz Lightyear the toy.
Based on?
Okay, so that's it. So it's not Buzz Lightyear the toy, it's Buzz Lightyear the character. See what I'm saying?
No.
Yes.
You're making... No.
Yeah,
No.
because-
All right. In universe, in Toy Story, Buzz Lightyear the toy is based on Buzz Lightyear the TV show.
Right.
I present to you Buzz Lightyear the movie. It fits in canon because
Okay.
how many times...
Okay.
MASH. MASH was first a movie that was made into a TV show.
Okay. All right. Yeah, it looks really
Mhm.
fun. It looks like a great movie.
Oh my gosh.
It's pretty. It looks really pretty.
I've never been like, yay, Elton John. I never got his music. But then listening to Elton John in that trailer, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And so I've went back in the past, I think this is about like a
Oh.
week or two. I went back and I listened to more Elton John. I was like, oh, okay, I think maybe it was an age and maturity thing. I get his music a little more.
Yeah.
Random aside.
It looks really good.
Oh my gosh. Like I said, I had to show it to my youth group. I was that excited. When there are trailers that are just good and look like it's going to be a good movie, a good story, I'm like, hey.
Field trip.
Exactly. we'll do movie nights occasionally at the church. You know, I'll set up the projector and a big screen out in the backyard, kind of like a drive-in feel with the fire pit. And we have fun with that. But I was just like, hey, do we want to just rent the movie theater and go see Buzz Lightyear?
Yes. When is it coming out?
So-
I'll come.
It's 2022.
Oh, okay.
Spring.
Spring! That's
But-
when I want to come down.
Hey, I have no objection. Have we ever talked about my going to the movie rules?
No, tell me your rules.
So, I'm very...
Are you very serious? You're a very serious
Yes.
movie attender, aren't you? Yeah. Do you talk during the trailers? I know you probably don't talk during the movie, but do you talk during the trailers?
You will be murdered. It is understood in my family. My wife figured this out. Oh, she might get mad at me for this story. I love you, dear, with all of my heart. Don't kill me. So, early on, when Melinda and I were dating, she and I had the opportunity to go and see one of the new James Bond movies with Daniel Craig.
Mhm.
It's right around the time we got engaged. And Happy Feet, the Penguin movie with Robin Williams.
Yeah.
She chose Happy Feet over James Bond. I'm a big James Bond fan. I have all the Bond movies. I have very particular preferences on Bond. That was a moment where I was like,
I don't know about this.
You have bad movie choices, but you're really pretty.
That's
13 years later, 2 kids, we still watch Happy Feet and we laugh about it. But, yeah. So there's that. But I have very particular, like, rules and preferences for going to see a movie. And the first is you cannot miss the previews.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Agree.
If you walk in and the previews have started, 1, you don't get the best seating. 2, you miss things. Like, what's coming out? I don't remember what movie it was, but again, it was another time when Melinda and I were dating in the summer, and she had to work, but I was going to pick her up, and we were going to go somewhere. I had some time to kill in the afternoon, so I was like, hey, I'll just go up to... There was a movie theater by her job, and I don't remember what the movie was. That's how much I didn't care whatever that movie was. It wasn't good. But I won't forget the preview. It was the first preview I saw for Cloverfield.
Oh, yes. I loved that movie.
No name. No, like, information. Just this found footage. Real. With a date.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what the movie was. From that point on, my mind was just gone.
Yeah.
You gotta be there for the previews. I don't care if we miss the previews, we miss the movie. That's it.
Mm-hmm. I am a talker during the trailer. Like, I will say, oh my gosh, this looks awesome. Or, hey, isn't that the guy from from that movie? But I'm pretty good about not talking during the movie. Pretty good. Unless I come up with something brilliant, like I make a connection. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's the bad guy. But everybody else is probably saying the same thing in the same moment.
Melinda says I'm a talker during the movie, but it's more like, look.
Yeah.
You know, it's the exclamations. Watch this scene. I enjoy movies. I enjoy the storytelling that a movie brings, whether it's in theaters or at home. And the thing that I was reflecting on with Disney Plus Day is how deeply movies get written into who we are. Like, do you have a favorite Disney childhood movie? And I'll narrow it down. Let's stick to the animated movies.
For a long time when I was a kid, it was Beauty and the Beast. I liked Belle. I liked her library. And I liked the Beast. I thought he looked disappointing when he became a human. And then I loved Tarzan when Tarzan came out, which was a little later in the timeline. But I mean, my sisters and I would play Beauty and the Beast, where like my mom made us these capes. So I'd be Belle, and my teddy bear would be Maurice in jail, and then my sister would come in and be like, Who goes there? And The Lion King. Oh my gosh. We saw The Lion King twice in theaters. We loved The Lion King, and we played that constantly. Oh man, we loved that. We loved that movie. You?
Well, The Lion King was an amazing classic of a movie. I loved Aladdin.
Mm-hmm.
And just, for me, what made Aladdin was Robin Williams as the genie.
Yes.
Where that was just, you have all these Disney movies that are very serious, and then you have Aladdin, and you're like, what is going on?
It takes itself much less seriously.
That is most definitely where my personality is, where it's, oh, I'm supposed to be serious? Have you met me? If I'm serious, yeah.
Look out.
Aladdin is it for me.
What do you think is the most underrated Disney movie?
Oh, underrated? Are we still going with like classic Disney animation, or
It doesn't have to be classic. Yeah, it doesn't have to, because my pick is not classic.
20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Yeah. Okay.
I love that movie. That is like guilty pleasure classic Disney movie for me.
Cool.
And that was my introduction. If I've got like timeline in my head, that movie was already old when I was a kid, and my dad rented it. We had the old video VHS store, and we went and we rented that movie, and watching that, it was just like mind-blowing. The idea that there weren't submarines, and then someone came up with the idea, and this is really cool. And
I love the Nautilus.
that also coincided like roughly with the time frame when I discovered classic literature, because it was right around that time frame that my parents started buying me. They were the abridged versions, but still the classics of things like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which is one of my favorite Jules Verne. It is my favorite Jules Verne.
I loved it.
Oh my gosh. That sent me on the beginning stages of sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
So I think, and I know we're talking about movies and TV today, but I just have to say, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, the book, my favorite thing about it was the Nautilus and what it looked like and the descriptions and where it went, and I loved the Nautilus.
Well, and the Nautilus, I mean, it was its own character, really, because you have this ship that it's... The best word that we could use, and it didn't exist back then, is it's very steampunky.
Yeah.
And so you see this ship that is riveted and green and contrasting the tall ships with sails, and it's so out of place that it fits.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such, it is the vehicle for the story, but it is more than just a vehicle, because it has the character and depth from who Nemo is and what's going on with Nemo. And random piece of trivia, if you ever go to Disney World, and I think I have it, I think I'm correct on this, but the organ that is in the Haunted Mansion in Disney World, I think that console is the organ that was in the Nautilus in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Cool. Oh, yeah.
But, because, yeah, again, there's a pipe organ under the water.
Yeah.
And you've got Nemo who plays these grand songs. I don't remember what he played, but it just feeds into that atmosphere of this is something different. All right, we've had enough asides on that. What's yours? Favorite underrated?
Okay, Treasure Planet.
Oh, that is a good one.
I've watched it like 3 times in the past 5 years because I wanted to share it with my kids because I loved it so much.
That is a good underrated movie. It did not get... It fell into that weird Disney, what was that, late 90s, 2000 phase?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because right around with Treasure Planet, which was an entirely different animation style for them.
It was a little more Don Bluth-y, don't you think?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They also did Atlantis. I think Atlantis is a Disney.
It is, yeah. I liked Atlantis too. Not as much though.
Right, but it still had that kind of similar style and kind of different way of telling stories. It was a weird point in Disney history that did not go well, but they're not bad movies.
Yeah. I mean, I think they aged well. I think they're still really fun to watch.
Treasure Planet was a fun movie. I have not watched that for a while. I should probably go back and watch that.
And I liked the animation. This is curious because I was doing some research this morning on Don Bluth, because a lot of the movies that traumatized me, and I loved them, but they traumatized me as a child, were made by Don Bluth. American Tail, All Dogs Go to Heaven, and it turns out Anastasia was Don Bluth.
Makes sense.
Yeah, but for some reason, like, Anastasia is on Disney. It's a Disney movie, but it was made by, like, Fox Studios or something, which is really weird.
Well, okay, Disney bought Fox, remember?
Oh, yeah, duh! Okay, right. So that's really interesting, because Don Bluth made a lot of movies with Disney, but then he broke away.
So...
And then it ends up that his baby, went back to Disney, which is funny.
Again, back to Disney Plus Day. Disney owns The Simpsons, which The Simpsons started joking about as a potential for them to be owned by Disney back in the 90s. They made,
of course they did, yeah.
little jokes and things, and then you turn around and it's, oh, Disney actually owns The Simpsons now. Ah, okay. So with Disney Plus Day, and you'll have to go and watch it, they made a little Simpsons spoof in celebration of Disney Plus Day. The whole thing, I'm sitting there going, how is Disney letting this happen? Like, it's hilarious. It's worth watching.
Mm-hmm.
But how is Disney letting this happen?
Yeah.
It's great. But wow.
Really?
Yeah, you need to go and watch that.
Okay.
Bart Simpson dresses like Mickey Mouse, and it takes some weird turns where you're like, is Disney okay?
Okay, let's discuss this for a second, because I don't know if you've seen on Disney Plus, it's Mickey Mouse and Friends. It's almost like they're making it for adults, and kids either won't get it or won't understand what they're watching, but whew. Like, there's one called My Ghoul Friend, Ghoul, and it's about, like, Mickey Mouse breaking down on the side of the road, and he can't fix his car with his one tool that he has, and this zombified Goofy that's falling apart and pretty scary looking. He appears, and there's like a chase scene, and it's really pretty edgy, scary-wise, for Disney.
So it's called Mickey Mouse. It ran from 2013 to 18. There are 5 seasons of it. Okay, so on this one, I'll actually say that's actually really good, because I have seen those.
Yeah, they're really fun, but
well, it's Disney actually going back to who Mickey was in the beginning. Like, have you ever watched, and it's one of my favorites, Steamboat Willie?
I don't think I've seen that one. But I've seen
Watch
the
Steamboat
old
Willie.
one with where he's the guy who kills the 7 flies. You know, he kills 7 flies and he announces out the window, "I killed 7 in one day." And they're like, "Wow, that's impressive. You killed 7 giants in one day." So they send him out to kill a giant.
That one's a little more based on fairy tale stuff, but going back to original Mickey and original Disney, Steamboat Willie's great because it's the first one with sound. But Mickey was always a bit of a stinker. He's not this sweet, clean-cut, fun-loving, innocent mouse. He's a stinker. And you see that in Steamboat Willie. You see that in some of the early shorts. And so what they did in that series was actually bring back that mischievous nature of Mickey.
In the whole show. I mean, all the characters are pretty weird. And then they came out with this other one that's a lot like it. Like, the animation's the same, about Chip and Dale. And there's like one episode that's like alluding to serial killers, and like there's weird stuff happening in that show. Like
that
it's
stuff
almost
I've
too
never
dark.
had an issue with.
Really?
I've never had an issue with, because it makes a complex character. It's not just... We'll talk characters in a moment, because I think I have a way to show you why I like complexity and darkness in a character.
And I do too. I'm not saying I don't, but I'm also watching a show with a 4-year-old. You know?
But the 4-year-old doesn't always get that. Have you ever... Oh my goodness, what was the show... I'm entirely blanking on what show I watched as a kid. And then, in like the past year or two, it was like, hey, this was a favorite classic. Let's put this on and watch it as a family. And so we do, and there are those, I call them a wink and a nod moment to a parent. Those jokes that go over kids' head, but you as a parent, you're sitting there like, what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. I get what you're saying, but dialogue is one thing, but the visuals are sort of different. Like the visuals, something that is actually kind of scary. That's sort of pushing the boundary. I guess I'm kind of sensitive because I don't want my kids to see something that you can't unsee. I try to be careful. Yeah.
And we do too. At the same time, I guess my preference is if we watch something like Disney that, Mickey Mouse, that may push some of the envelopes, I'd rather it happen at home where we can have a conversation about it than outside of the house where we may not have a conversation about it. And that's tricky. That's complex. We've talked about that stuff in the past.
I guess I don't care where they see it. I mean, I want them to call me and ask, can we watch this? No.
Sorry. I'm thinking for a moment, because there are like, you ever have like a spider web with multiple strands and you're like, which one of these do I pull to take it all down?
Yeah. Ooh.
That's kind of the moment that's before me where it's okay, there are like 5 different paths that I think we can talk about. And I don't know which way I want to go. But all right, let's go into character, like favorite characters from movies and media.
Okay, you go first though, please.
It really is hard to kind of move away from Disney because they own like a lot of things right now, don't they?
Oh. Yeah.
Who don't they own?
Oh, no, but Mal Reynolds from Firefly. Mal Reynolds.
Oh.
I love Mal. He was good. He was very good.
Firefly, I
loved Firefly.
That deserved a whole lot more than it ever got.
And that's part of the legend of Firefly, is the short shrift it got from Fox. It was just... They didn't even put the shows out in the right order. They only gave it one
owns
season.
it. That means it's a Disney property. See? Disney owns everything. We can talk Star Trek or DC Comics, and we're not in Disney.
Oh,
Sorry.
but I feel like as long as we're not talking about 101 Dalmatians, it doesn't really matter. But anyway, I loved Firefly. I loved the writing. And I loved Mel.
Well,
and Kaylee. I loved Kaylee. She was hilarious.
Kaylee was good.
Yeah.
Well, and she brought that, again, she's that innocent naivety against the darker complexity that is all the others, because you've got, I can never get the names.
River. She was the kooky dancer that knew how to kill people. River, the one who arrives naked on in the box. And
Right, not River. She had the shuttle. Anina. She was the.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, see? The special counselor, we'll call it. The accountant.
Now I have to go to Internet Movie Database.
But then you had Jane Cobb and... Wash, thank you.
I don't remember his real name. But I loved Wash. When he's playing with the dinosaurs.
His real character name? Or his real
his
name?
His real actor-y name. Oh, Alan Tudyk.
Who I absolutely love his K2SO.
Yes.
He was perfect for that role. Yeah, and I love when he pops up in movies because he's got that like dry sense and wit. But no, anyway, Jane Cobb. I love Jane Cobb because he's the darkest of the characters.
Yeah, and he's kind of like you're supposed to make fun of him.
Right, but he's also the one that you see a character development of coming out of that darkness where he becomes a part of that family.
Yes.
And so for me, there's a redemptive story arc for him.
Oh, Inara, played by Morena Baccarin.
Thank you.
Who I love, Morena Baccarin. She's so good in Deadpool.
That's right, she is in Deadpool. I forgot. Why can't we talk about Deadpool?
Did you watch the movie Serenity?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
That was upsetting.
Yeah.
Everybody should go watch it if you haven't yet. But they had to go and tie up things, and they shouldn't have.
I don't disagree with them going and tying up things. I don't like how they did it. But that's even part of, like, okay, think of the movies you've watched where a favorite character dies. What does your investment become in that movie then, or in that series? Is there resolution for the death of that character? A favorite TV series, one that I get picked on at home for, is Game of Thrones. Did you watch Game of Thrones?
I watched some of it. I watched a bunch of I watched the first season and some of the second. But I got tired of it.
Yeah, it takes a bit. It takes a lot. I got invested in that because I really liked Sean Bean's character and the Stark family. And it's, okay, wow, you have this good, strong, noble house that they don't want power, but they want what's best for, and they're trying to do what's best for their kids, their family, for their people. And wait, they killed him!
Yeah. Well, in the book, it's the same way. You're like, what?
Right. And so now I have this investment because these were good characters. How are they going to be vindicated and justified?
Or are they?
So you haven't seen the whole thing.
Well, I've read the books. I've read three of the books. But I think that's the story of Game of Thrones is their evolution or de-evolution and how they change and their character arc.
At least within the arc of the shows, I do think in the end they kind of get the justified for the Starks. I think they kind of get there. Halfway. I don't agree with all of the conclusions for the end of the show. But
yeah.
But you get that investment because a favorite character, a good character, a big name actor character has died in a manner that is small and petty.
Yeah.
Because it was this small petty character who should have no power, who we've discovered has no rights to claim what he has. And he's just being this monster of a character who, next 3 or 4 seasons terrorizes everyone. And bit by bit, you feel a little bit of vindication, and that's what they do. It's that wonderful kind of bait and switch. Like, Robb Stark rises up and creates a rebellion that is succeeding, and, he's got Jaime Lannister, and we've cut off Jaime Lannister's hand, and we feel a little bit vindicated by this. And then you get to the Red Wedding. I don't know if you got that far in.
I've heard about it, though. Everybody dies. I can't remember who was in charge or who died, but...
That's the whole point of Game of Thrones. Everybody dies. But you feel a little bit vindicated, and then you get to the Red Wedding, and now the injustice is greater, and so the vindication needs to be greater. And that's how they build that story, see?
Yeah.
Which is fantastic and marvelous, and that's why I like a little bit of a darker aspect to characters and storytelling. And my classic example I always use and argue is Superman.
Uh-huh.
Everybody is like, yeah, we like Superman, but when this character shows up with no personality conflicts, there's nothing that can kill him, and he's just like, boom, God mode, all done.
Well, yeah, he's boring. He's a boring character. There's no dimension to him.
Right. Which is the struggle of most Superman movies, where the struggle that Superman has within the comics and the movies has always been the romance with Lois Lane. You don't have a good struggle in the romance or a good struggle in the character development, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's why Smallville was so successful on the WB for a while. Did you ever watch Smallville?
No, I didn't like it.
Teenage Superman.
Right.
Teenage drama. It worked.
I think the thing that people should have realized was Superman was what people needed when it came out. They needed Superman to be amazing and undefeatable. But when Batman came out, people didn't want Superman anymore. People realized there is sketchiness. People are more skeptical, and we don't really... people don't trust anymore. So I just think it reflects the time it came out.
It does. It also reflects the creators and what they were considering and thinking. Like Superman. Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. So those are the two original creators of Superman. Siegel and Schuster used, and I love this, they used an archetype. No?
Yes, sir.
Not Jesus. No! They used the projected archetype of an expected savior from the Judaic people.
Right, okay. I think it's archetype, by the way.
There you go. Archetype. See, this is you correcting me when I get the words wrong, and I appreciate that. But yes, because it was, we as Christians, we look and say, okay, Jesus, because that's who we see and expect as the Savior. But the Judaic people were still awaiting. They don't think Jesus was the Messiah. So
it's like sort of who they picture the Messiah what he will really be like in today's era or day.
Right. And that's even to a degree what why Jesus was missed back in that day. And his apostles almost missed it as well, because they're like, okay, yay, we did the whole dying thing, forgiveness thing, great. When's the revolution thing? You know, we see that in Acts, right before the Ascension. We see that before the death and resurrection, where they're like, hey, vive la revolution. Peter gets a lot of flack for it, but part of the reason why Peter drew and swung at Temple Servant was because it was vive la revolution. This is it. The moment has arrived. The action moment has arrived. And no, but all of that aside, you have Superman, who's that archetype. Mm-hmm. Did I say it right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so you have that archetype then of what is an expected savior, and that's always been the struggle with Superman as a character, is he shows up, and when he shows up, it's just God mode. Who can fight Superman? And that's it.
Yeah.
You know, they have to write weaknesses and character flaw into the original character, and I love Superman, but that's the struggle of Superman. It's why Batman is more popular. It's why a flawed superhero is better than... Yeah. Right, and even going into like Marvel, it's why when we get into the MCU, there's an initial struggle with who Thor is. Because Thor comes in as this nice and shiny, well-polished superhero demigod character, mm-hmm. but we got to put some dirt on him, and we got to give him some hard background. And you don't get that until like Thor Ragnarok, and some of the Avenger movies. But all right, there's one other piece I want to bring and kind of tie things together with.
Okay.
You and I have read and love many books. Just a couple episodes ago, we talked about Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Mm-hmm. That was made into a movie. There have been lots of books that we have read that have been made into movies.
Yes.
What is a favorite and oh my gosh, horrible book to movie that you have seen
Okay. So there's this really good series by Cornelia Funke. I don't know how to say her last name. It's German. Funke. It was called Inkspell. And the book was amazing. It's about this guy who, when he reads a book, things in the book come out of the book, or things out in the world that he is in go into the book. So it's really cool. He's like a powerful dude. But he's like, it's a curse too, like, because he loses, his wife disappears into the book. Amazing series. I loved all 3 books. The movie was so bad. Ooh, it was really, really bad. I couldn't even finish it. And Brendan Fraser was in it.
Oh, yeah.
The guy who plays Vision, Paul.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah. Blartney? No.
Yeah, that sounds right. Even he couldn't help it. It was just atrocious. It was bad. That said, there is an example of a movie which I think I enjoyed better than the book. And that was Sue Monk Kids, The Secret Life of Bees, with Dakota Fanning and Alicia Keys. And I don't know anybody else in that movie. Oh, that's also What's-His-Face. Paul What's-His-Face is in that too. That's weird.
Bettany.
Pretty sure that's him as well. Bettany.
Paul Bettany.
That movie,
Sorry,
I loved that movie. Loved it, and I liked it better than I liked the book. So, that's also one of the few chick lit books I've ever liked. And I loved it, and I've read it many times.
See, I don't know if I can say that there's like a movie I have ever loved more than the book.
I think this might come, though, from me. I watched the movie before I read the book, and that could be why. Because I thought the movie did something special that the book couldn't quite do.
Even when I've gone back, like, I watched not all of the Harry Potters. I watched a majority of the Harry Potter movies before I went and read the books. And I love those movies, but they're nothing to the book.
What was the best you could hope for book to movie, and the worst?
So, worst, and it was the one that brought me to the realization that books to movies don't always translate well, was Michael Crichton.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote a book called Sphere.
Yes.
I love the book Sphere.
Ooh,
it's great, it's edgy,
creepy,
it's dark, and you don't know what's going on, and it just, the tension in it is wonderful.
Yeah.
And then I watched the book with,
You watched the movie with
my goodness.
Liev Schreiber.
Dustin Hoffman, Samuel L. Jackson, Sharon Stone.
Yes.
Liev
Schreiber. He's amazing.
Queen Latifah.
Oh my,
Peter
that was
Coyote.
Queen Latifah?
Yeah. So, you've got a good big star-studded cast in 98, and I was like, okay, I really like the book. I'm going to like the movie.
Yeah.
I saw the movie and I was like, what is this garbage? And that's how I felt. I was like, no. Like, it was a quarter of what was in the book, and the tension and the story. Whatever.
Yeah.
It didn't work for me.
The movie was just icky. The movie was gross. I don't like jellyfish deaths. I don't like people being squeezed.
But part of that was all within the book. It just didn't translate well. So that was the moment where I was like, okay, books and movies are not equal and on the same footing.
Right.
Which is odd, because at this point, I think I would have read... No, maybe it was a couple years later that I read Frank Herbert's Dune. But I know I saw Dune, the 1980s movie, first before I read the book. Which, there's a whole podcast, a conversation on that. That was the moment where it was, this is not okay. But translations of book to movie that I have enjoyed, I still have my frustrations with it. But again, one of the best, I think, is Jurassic Park. Again, Michael Crichton.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where You know, they took his original concept. It's different, but they gave it a good, and I think
Yeah.
that's a very huge thing. They gave it a good life.
Yeah, they did.
So, and I really do believe a huge portion of why, not believe, I know a huge portion of why Jurassic Park was that good is because who was involved with it?
Yeah, absolutely. Spielberg.
Steven Spielberg.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
My kids look at me when I'm crazy and I say if Steven Spielberg hasn't worked with the director, it's probably not a good movie.
Interesting.
You know, that's a very broad generalization, but it's just the influence of Steven Spielberg, who helped modernize film and cinema, in my opinion, to bring it from what was the classics 50s, 60s, 70s era and bring the storytelling and the technology together. I think that's what has brought us to the stage of storytelling. And Spielberg has that because of even who he's worked with George Lucas.
Yes.
Who was at the cutting edge of the technology spectrum with what he did with Star Wars, what he's done with Star Wars, and the two of them being friends, working together, whole conspiracy theory, but yes.
Yeah.
All right, so derail our conversation.
Okay, well, I was going to ask you, you don't seem like a guy who's easily scared or disturbed. But what is the most disturbing movie you've ever seen that you felt you had to take a shower after? You know what I mean?
Oh. Ooh. So there are movies that disturbed me
Yeah.
that I have rewatched because the disturbing nature of them, I think, is good.
Huh.
And I'm Event Horizon. Did you ever see that?
No.
So Event Horizon it's this sci-fi horror movie with Lawrence Fishburne and Sam Neill.
Yeah.
And that's why I watched it initially, because it was, okay, I like Lawrence Fishburne, I like Sam Neill. What is this? And I read the description and, okay, I'll try it. There's this whole conversation and discussion with what is going on. It's gory. It's like a depiction of hell that happens on this spacecraft. It is definitely this enclosed horror movie. And it hits you. It's disturbing. And it's one of those movies that a lot of people have been like, nope, never watching that again. But I'll rewatch that because I enjoy the level of storytelling, the sci-fi aspect to it. So that... So that's not a fair answer. Sin City, there it is.
I felt the same way.
I watched that, that was like the summer between the first and second year in that young adult program. I watched that with my sister, and I walked away from that going, I need to take a shower, and I'm never watching that again.
Yeah.
And I haven't. I tried watching that. Gosh, when did I tried rewatching that like a year or 2 or 3 ago, and I couldn't make it too far into it. I was like, there's no redemption in this movie. There is no worth in this movie. And I mean, they even went back and made a Sin City 2, and it's just...
No.
I get the dark comic that it's based on, but just... No.
Yep. I think some movies just have such a feeling attached to them, something, and I guess it's spiritual, but it just gets under your skin, and it's like a fog, and it's hard to come out of that. But I think I'm better now at recognizing it earlier on in the movie, and not feeling like I have to finish it. I just stop watching it because I don't like that feeling.
So I think this is why we as people like storytelling, whether it's in books, movies, or TV, is that the story allows us to process things that we may be dealing with. Like WandaVision as a series is a great processing of grief. And from the visual, where the raw grief of Wanda in the beginning of that, it's black and white. The symbolism of the black and the white and the raw feeling of grief where it is or it isn't.
Wow.
It's a binary. Little by little, color gets introduced. These new concepts get introduced. And the journey is this whole processing of grief. And then you get into moving past it and living into a new...
You're remarkable, because that's not how I read that. I was like, she's getting as far away from her grief as she possibly can by going to these stories where nothing bad ever happens. It's like heaven for TV. You know? Nothing, there's hardly any conflict. So that's kind of the way I took it. Not that I'm right, but I just appreciate the fact that you had a completely different turnaround for that.
But here's the thing, you're not wrong. Wanda's initial reason is the escapism. But that background process of grief is still there. And, you know, they explain that in the story where it's Wanda going to a time where she's comfortable. But there's symbolism in that where it's, okay, you know, again, in the depth of grief, it's binary. It's a yes-no kind of thing.
Mm.
And as you come out of and journey through grief, little things begin to have more value, more flavor, more color in life. And you see that playing out in WandaVision. You see that playing out where it's an initial escape, but the journey of grief is always kind of like that. There's an initial escape, something that you do process, read, dive into, and out of that, think about the journey you've gone through. And we've talked a little bit about that throughout the years. There's an initial escape, there's moving into new areas, there's processing, there's new life at the end of it.
Mm.
It's different, but there's new life at the end of it. But that is part of why storytelling is so ingrained in who we are. It's why we have celebrations of Disney Plus Day. It's why we look and we have favorite shows, because maybe that show or that movie helps us to background process something, or we connect to it because it's part of our own stories and allows us to question, explore, or engage in a new way.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was a kid and in youth group, one of the things that my youth director did was have us engage with the media of the time. And one of the popular ones that he always showed in youth group, and I'm excited, we're about a month away, was The Matrix. And Matrix 4 is coming out. I'm excited to see it. Even if it's horrible, I still want to see it.
Mm-hmm.
And The Matrix has a lot of different layers to it. Very overt and covert symbolisms in it. And that's part of what we talked about. It was, what is the media saying? What are the tales and the symbolisms, direct and indirect, that are within it? Which is why I think about things a little bit differently, I suppose. Also, the fact that I had to get the pastor to help me argue against my mother, love you, Mom, to see The Matrix. When I found out how he had seen it, I asked him a bunch of questions like, could you tell my mom that I should see it? Yeah, my mom was it's rated R and violent, and, you know, the news stuff of, oh, there's this big gun room and people get shot and killed all over she was very much against me seeing it. But when I did see it, I mean, it was understanding the storytelling and the stories that are trying to be told. I guess that's what I look for in movies, is what stories are we telling? Culturally, directly, indirectly. We need to do an episode that is very specific, where we sit down, we watch a movie, we take notes, and then we compare with what the end conclusion is.
I agree. I'm kind of fixated on the notion of coming down and hanging out and going to your youth group and stuff, maybe. But, and maybe watching, because I know I told you I wanted to come down and see that comedian, but he's way too political now, and I don't really want to watch him. But I still want to come down.
Okay. Yeah. We can figure that out.
So we could watch a movie together.
We can do it live.
And
well, I think if we do this, we need to do a movie that we have never seen.
Like Buzz Lightyear?
That might be an option. Where it's okay, we've never seen Buzz Lightyear. Let's watch Buzz Lightyear. And when you do this with a movie, you have to have 2 passes on it at a minimum. You got to get that first one that is the enjoying it and enjoying just the story, the arc, the narrative. And that second one that is the intentional, what's there.
Yeah. So I agree. The first go through, I'm asking questions the whole movie in my head. Not out loud, but like, what's happening? Who's this? How is this connected? What's going on? And then the second time, I know how it ends. I know the story, and now I can sort of see the threads earlier in the film. So the second time is more relaxing, I think, than the first time. That's how I watch movies.
First time I watch a movie, I'm just like, okay, brain off. And I watch the movie. I don't ask who's that, who's this, who's that. I just brain off, I'm watching. Second time is when I start asking. So, that's interesting. But, alright. We're at about an hour and 15. I got my mother-in-law coming up today, so...
Alright. It was a good one.
Yay, season 2! So this one will come out Thanksgiving week, which is a big movie week.
Mm-hmm.
And... yeah, so... I think the next episode we do is a current event episode.
Really?
I think.
I should probably watch the news.
It doesn't have to be the news. It can just be something that we want to talk about from the past 4 months.
Okay. Alright. Well, I'm looking forward to it, and I'll talk to you soon.
Hey, yep, it was good talking to you, Lindsay.
Bye!
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the 42 podcast. Please take a moment to like and subscribe, and if you want to join in on the conversation, you can find us on Facebook and Twitter to add your voice to the conversation. Thank you.